Topic 10. Andros promotes the First American Revolution. 1. In 1686, the Dominion of New England was created to bolster the colonial defense against Indians and tying the colonies closer to Britain by enforcing the hated Navigation Acts. The acts forbade American trade with countries other than Britain. As a result, smuggling became common. Head of the Dominion was Sir Edmund Andros. Establishing headquarters in Boston, he openly showed his association with the locally hated Church of England. His soldiers were vile-mouthed and despised by Americans. 2. Andros responded to opposition by curbing town meetings, restricting the courts and the press, and revoking all land titles. 3. He taxed the people without their consent. 4. At the same time, the people of New England staged a glorious revolution, instating William and Mary to the crown. Resultant, the Dominion of New England collapsed. Massachusetts got a new charter in 1691, but this charter allowed all landowners to vote, as opposed to the previous law of voting only being allowed to church members. Topic 11. Old Netherlanders at New Netherland. 1. In the 17th century, the Netherlands revolted against Spain, and with the help of Britain, gained their independence. 2. The Dutch East India Company was established, with an army of 10,000 men and a fleet of 190 ships, including 40 men of war. 3. The Dutch West India Company often raided rather than traded. 4. In 1609, Henry Hudson ventured into Delaware and the New York Bay and claimed the area for the Netherlands. 5. It was the Dutch West India Company that bought Manhattan Island for some worthless trinkets, 22,000 acres of what is the most valuable land in the world today. 6. New Amsterdam was a company town, run by and for the Dutch company, and in the interest of stockholders. 7. The Dutch gave patronships, large areas of land, to promoters who agreed to settle at least 50 people on them. 8. New Amsterdam attracted people of all types and races. One French Jesuit missionary counted 18 different languages being spoken on the same street. Topic 12. Friction with English and Swedish neighbors. 1. Indians attacked the Dutch for their cruelties. 2. New England was hostile against Dutch growth. 3. The Swedes trespassed Dutch reserves from 1638 to 1655 by planting the anemic colony of New Sweden on the Delaware River. 4. Things got so bad that the Dutch erect a wall in New Amsterdam, for which Wall Street is named today. 5. In 1655, the Dutch sent one-legged Peter Stuyvesant to besiege the main Swedish fort, and he won, ending Swedish colonial rule and leaving only Swedish log cabins and place names as evidence that the Swedes were ever in Delaware. Topic 13. Dutch residues in New York. 1. In 1664, Charles II granted the area of modern-day New York to his brother, the Duke of York, and that year British troops landed and defeated the Dutch, kicking them out without much violence. 2. New Amsterdam was renamed New York. 3. The Dutch legacy. The people of New York retained their autocratic spirit. Dutch names of cities renamed, like Harlem, Brooklyn, and Hellgate. Even their architecture left its mark on buildings. The Dutch also gave us Easter eggs, Santa Claus, waffles, sauerkraut, bowling, sleighing, skating, and golf. Topic 14. Penn's Holy Experiment in Pennsylvania. 1. The Quakers. Characteristics. They quaked under deep religious emotion. They were offensive to religious and civil rule. They addressed everyone with simple these and thous, and didn't swear oaths because Jesus had said, "Swear not at all." This last part creating a problem since you had to swear a test oath to prove that you weren't Roman Catholic. Though stubborn and unreasonable, they were simple, devoted, democratic people against war and violence. 2. William Penn, a well-born Englishman, embraced the Quaker faith. 3. In 1681, he managed to secure an immense grant of fertile land from the king. It was called Pennsylvania in honor of Penn, who, being the modest person of that he was, had insisted that it be called Sylvania. It was the best advertised of all the colonies. Topic 15. Quaker Pennsylvania and its neighbors. 1. Thousands of squatters already lived in Pennsylvania. 2. Philadelphia was more carefully planned than most cities, with beautiful, wide streets. 3. Penn bought land from Indians like Chief Tammany, later patron saint of New York's political Tammany Hall. 4. His treatment of the Indians was so gentle that Quakers could walk through Indian territory unarmed without fear of being hurt. 5. However, as more and more non-Quakers came to Pennsylvania, they mistreated the Indians more and more. 6. Freedom of worship was available to everyone except for Jews and Catholics, only because of pressure from London, and the death penalty was only for murder and treason. 7. No restrictions were placed on immigration, and naturalization was made easy. 8. The Quakers also developed a dislike towards slavery. 9. Pennsylvania attracted a great variety of people from all races, classes, and religion. 10. By 1700s, only Virginia was more populous and richer. 11. Penn unfortunately was not well liked because of his friendliness towards James II, the deposed Catholic king, and he was jailed at times and also suffered a paralytic stroke, dying full of sorrows. 12. New Jersey and Delaware prospered as well. Topic 16. The Middle Way in the Middle Colonies. 1. New York, New Jersey, Delaware, and Pennsylvania all had fertile soil and broad expanse of land. All except for Delaware exported lots of grain. The Susquehanna River tapped the fur trade of the interior, and the rivers were gentle, with little cascading waterfalls. The Middle Colonies were the middle way between New England and the southern plantation states. Land holdings were generally intermediate in size. The Middle Colonies were more ethnically mixed compared to other colonies. A considerable amount of economic and social democracy prevailed. Benjamin Franklin, born in Boston, entered Philadelphia as a 17-year-old in 1720, with a loaf of bread under each arm, and immediately found a congenial home in the urbane, open atmosphere of the city. Americans began to realize that not only were they surviving, but that they were also thriving. Topic 17. Makers of America, the English. 1. In the 1600s, England was undergoing a massive population boom. 2. About 75% of English immigrants were indentured servants. 3. Most of them were young men from the middling classes. 4. Some had fled during the cloth trade slump in the early 1600s, while others had been forced off their land due to enclosure. 5. Some 40% of indentured servants died before their 7 years were over. 6. Late in the 17th century, as the supply of indentured servants slowly ran out, the Southerners resolved to employ black slaves. 7. From 1629 to 1642, 11,000 Puritans swarmed to the Massachusetts Bay Colony. 8. In contrast to the indentured servants, Puritans migrated in family groups, not alone. 9. Puritans brought the way of life from England with them to America. For example, Marblehead, Massachusetts had mostly fishermen because most of the immigrants had been fishermen in England. Raleigh, Massachusetts brought from Yorkshire, England, their distinctive way of life. In Ipswich, Massachusetts, settled by East Anglican Puritans, the rulers had long terms and ruled with an iron hand. However, in Newbury, people rarely won re-election.